Hi, my name is Solo Wu. I'm 50 years old. I spent my whole life in Hong Kong until moving to England in 2021. That was 46 years in Hong Kong, 23 under British colonial rule and 23 under Chinese sovereignty. Now, after 4 years in England, if I add up my years in colonial Hong Kong and here in Britain, they already exceed the number of years I've lived under China. In many ways, my life has been shaped more by Britain than by China, even though Hong Kong will always feel like my home. I hold a British National Overseas Passport issued by the UK Home Office. On the outside, it looks just like any other British passport, but for decades, it gave me no rights to live, work, or study in Britain. Even today, when I arrive at Heathrow, I can't use the e-gates or the British Citizens Line. I still queue under all other passports. The BNO visa finally gave me a chance to settle here, but it came at a cost. Between visa fees and the immigration health surcharge, I paid thousands of pounds just for the right to stay. On top of that, I pay tax like everyone else. In effect, I am paying twice for access to the NHS, once through the surcharge and once through taxation. I can't claim public funds, and when I eventually apply for indefinitely leave to remain, my future will still depend on policies I can't control. There's already talk of extending the settlement period from 5 years to 10. To understand how I end up in this position, we need to go back to the very beginning. Hong Kong became part of the British Empire through the Opium Wars. In the early 19th century, Britain craved Chinese tea, silk, and porcelain, but China demanded silver in return. To fix this imbalance, British traders smuggled opium from India into China. Addiction spread like wildfire. And when the Qing government tried to stop it, Britain responded with force. The First Opium War ended in China's defeat, and in 1842, the Treaty of Nanking ceded Hong Kong Island to Britain. A British admiral at the time dismissed it as a barren rock with hardly a house upon it. Yet, that barren rock became one of the most prosperous cities in Asia. Britain later acquired Kowloon in 1860 and leased the new territories in 1898 for 99 years, setting the 1997 handover date. Over that century and a half, Hong Kong was transformed from a backwater into a global hub. Refugees fled turmoil in China and rebuilt their lives there. By the time I was growing up, Hong Kong was thriving and far wealthier than the mainland. Even today, despite China's rapid growth, Hong Kong still enjoys a high standard of living per person. British institutions shaped much of this success. Common law courts, an independent judiciary, and a professional civil service gave Hong Kong stability and predictability. These systems build trust for investors, but also for ordinary families like mine. But colonial rule also had flaws. Corruption was widespread in the 1950s and 60s until the Independent Commission Against Corruption was established in the 1970s. And politics remained tightly controlled from London. Almost all senior government posts were held by British officials. Even in the 1980s, when Britain and China negotiated Hong Kong's future, Hong Kongers themselves were shut out. The Sino-British Joint Declaration was signed without the voice of the people it most affected. The absence of a voice was reflected in nationality too. Unlike most countries, where nationality and citizenship are the same thing, Britain divided them into categories. Hong Kongers shifted through a maze: British subjects, citizens of the UK and colonies, British dependent territories citizens, British overseas citizens, and finally, British national overseas. My BNO passport looked prestigious, but for decades it meant little in practical terms. A British passport without the rights of a British citizen. Even when Britain offered limited relief, like the 1990 scheme granting full citizenship to just 50,000 families, the vast majority were left out. By 1997, Hong Kong was rich and global. but politically powerless and left with a confusing nationality status. And the contrast with Macau was striking. When Portugal handed Macau back to China in 1999, it gave residents full Portuguese passports and European Union citizenship. Britain chose a very different path for Hong Kongers. Fast forward to 2021, when I finally arrived in England on the BNO visa. For that, I'm genuinely grateful. It opened a door many of us thought closed. But gratitude doesn't erase the anxiety. I pay taxes like everyone else, and yet I also pay thousands upfront in visa and health fees. I cannot access public funds. And though I carry a UK-issued passport, I still stand in the immigrant line at the border. My path to citizenship depends not only on my own choice, but on the shifting winds of policy. So, at the age of 50, I look back and see a life shaped by Britain. From colonial Hong Kong, once dismissed as barren rocks, to my present in England. If I count my years under Britain, whether in Hong Kong or here in the UK, they already outnumber the years I've lived under Chinese sovereignty. And yet, I remain caught in between, British in name, immigrant in law. That's why I say I am a British national, but also an immigrant. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've had a similar experience, especially as a Hong Konger under the BNO scheme, I would love to hear your reflections in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to hear more perspectives like this one. Until next time, take care.